this is getting so frustrating. How much more can we take? We're erupting like volcanoes, blowing ashes in our face. We need change. Like a baby, you hear the crying. We need change. Like a flat that's on your tire. Baby, we just need some air, a little bit of space, some time to think it over. Maybe that can help erase all the pain we've made. Let us change this hate, oh. Take a moment, think about it. Why we always fighting? Man, we be so violent. Man and woman riot. How did we get started? Most of us don't even know. No. Take a moment, think about it. Why we always fighting? Man, we be so violent. Man and woman riot. How did we get started? Most of us don't even know. Don't even know.
It's time to mend this gap and get our love lives back. Most of us have come from a place of hurt and pain, but that's not the only way. There's still a chance to regain the trust we once had, a must. Let's pick up our hearts and grow onto a happily ever after we go.
Take a moment, think about it. Why we always fighting? Man, we be so violent. Man and woman riot. How did we get started? Most of us don't even know. Take a moment, think about it. Why we always fighting? Man, we be so violent. Man and woman riot. How did we get started? Most of us don't even know. Don't even know.
Shalom, shalom, shalom lekulam. Peace to everyone that's tuning in right now. Welcome back to another segment of Love and Balance Talk Sessions. I am Nasik Rashid Shema, and this is the rest of the panel. Can you all introduce yourselves for those that may be tuning in for the first time?
Shalom, y'all. I am Kayuya. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, I'm Mora Daoud Isha, and we represent the Remnant of Hope Ministries.
Toda.
Shalom Lakulam. I'm Nasika Amuna. I'm also Nasik Rashid's Isha and Kane. Our ministry is Bayt Ma'azan, and this is one of the pillars of our ministry, Love and Balance Talk Session. Welcome.
Shalom. I'm sorry. Shalom, everybody. I'm Mora Ama, also known as Mora Tahora. No ministries, just here.
Finally. No, I'm playing. You know we got a joke here. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Shalom, Lakulam. My apologies for not being on the screen at the present time, but I will be on screen a little bit later. I am Mora Zakaria Zamar. I have quite a few ministries that I will not list off for you because we'll be here for a while. But Abba is told, so hallelujah.
All praises. I guess Mora Dawood's not going to say anything, and that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and just, do you have anything to say?
Oh, of course. This is Mora Daoud. Baruch haba, Mishpachah. I am, no, I did that wrong. Dang, I be trying, I see. Anyway, I am the,
always speaking with one person in the masculine. You never make it plural.
It's the haba I wanted. It was the haba.
It's the beginning too, the first part. But never mind.
Okay,
Go
all right, don't worry about it. You'll text me in the chat. It don't matter. I tried. Welcome everybody. This is Dawood Akeem, and hopefully we will have a wonderful show. Let's get to it.
And why you always looking like you glowing? Don't you look like you get like the dude off of the karate movie, Bruce Leroy? Just glowing.
Listen, it's all
Better
y'all.
Lekulam, Beruchim, Habaim, Lekulam. Welcome everyone. Oh yeah, Mora Ama. It's a happy belated birthday. Just in case nobody knew that, we saying that to you. All right, today's show is an interesting one. I am looking forward to seeing what you all are going to be bringing and what you all are going to be bringing for the people. This is Bed Bazaar Network, and this is one of our segments, Love and Balance Talk Sessions. This is to bring the people together within our communities. We reference scriptures, we reference history, we reference things that's going to help us propel to where we need to be. But before we get started, I'm going to open up with a really quick prayer. We can't do that. If we want to invoke the Most High, we got to go ahead and make sure we say a prayer, bring them in because our people need it, and then we need the action after it. So let's go. Orenu Abinu Malkinu. Ani מבקש שנבוא לכיסא שלך, סלח לנו על כל טומאה שהיא בזית רוחנית ונפשית. Our King, our Creator, our Father, I ask to approach your throne. I ask that we approach your throne. Please forgive us for any uncleanness, whether it be spiritual, physical, or mental. Please come before us as we talk and we discuss matters that's going to help us come closer to you. And we need to dig into the history, so we need you to just give us the words to say, the dialogue, the speech to speak, and we glorify your name forever and always. Haluet Amakoa Niski, Haluet Akoa Kaniski, Haluet HaMelech HaElion. All right. Here we go. 2 weeks ago. You know what? Did you say happy birthday though? Did you say Yom Huladet Sameach?
Kane, I most certainly did in the chat. She can vouch for that. Okay. 2 weeks ago when it happened. But hallelujah.
Here we go. Let's get right to it, you all. The banners. This is the Westernized thinker, Black man and woman. The Westernized, so that's a question. Is that the case? The Westernized thinker, Black man and woman. What's your all's thoughts on this topic? I remember one person went crazy for the topic, So I'm interested to know what their thoughts were. But what's your thoughts on this particular topic, you all?
It is relevant. It's relevant to where we are right now because we are in the Westernized world. So it is what we're battling right now, that Eastern and Western thought.
So, anyone else?
And I do agree. I think a lot of our discussions as a community, as a nation right now are centered around our idealization. Most of it being that we have been reared and brought forth in this Western society, in this Western mindset, and we are trying to break free from it. But I really do think that there, like Maura Kailia said, there has been like I don't want to say a battle, but there's definitely been a tug of war, a pulling back and forth between Eastern culture and Western culture. And today I would really like to bring out the topic of, not just Eastern and Western culture, but like our culture, because our culture is neither Eastern nor Western. And I think that a lot of the times we have a tendency, because we are in the West and because we're like, oh, forget this Western mindset, and we lean on Eastern. But we have to also remember that the Eastern culture and the ways are full of idolatry and all sorts of things that we're just really not supposed to mess with either. So I would really like to delve into this topic. I'm really excited.
Interesting. I got some things to say towards that when you do bring it out. Anyone else?
I hate when you do that, Sniff. I'm sorry. I thought I was on mute. Anyway, I too was definitely going to push back on this topic. Pause. Push back on the topic just due to what Laura Zakaria just mentioned. I'm going to hold it until maybe some of your questions probably bring it out. But I think that we use definitely, I know that we use the aspect of Western versus Eastern as a cop out. And I think that that's one of the defenses that we put up when in all actuality is it's not that at all. So I am interested definitely in this topic. I yield.
Man, I'm definitely interested now because you just added another piece with Mordecai. You said it's definitely not that at all, man. I hope see all the congregation, all our people need to tune in today because we have a lot of people trying to throw stones, because they're like, wait, no, we are Westernized, but we gonna see. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. We gonna see what everybody says. Ishti?
You on mute?
Okay. So luckily. So I actually am the one that came up with this topic for this week. Kane, of course my Ish helped, narrow the topic down because I had like a really big subtopic and I was like, okay. But so I'm not gonna add too much to it because I actually have a different take on what we label as Westernized. And I actually think that we've coined it to kind of pick at certain things. But I'm gonna leave it there until we get into the questions. Say who?
All right. Anyone else? Is that everyone? No? Okay.
Just excited to see, the topics that we'll be talking about. I like just the broad kind of just theme that we seem to be going towards. So I'm excited to see where we can dive deep into it.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting, probably. All right. Let's not. Oh, actually, I want to bring a video up. Now, here, I wanted to play a video. I was searching for so many videos. I couldn't. And I think this podcast, or whatever we want to call this, right? I think this is going to be a good discussion because I couldn't find a lot of so-called Black individuals talking about this discussion in the way that we're going to. So when I bring this video up, although she's pointing about women, she didn't say them bad technically, but the concept of what she's saying when she's going to bring out communities, that's the part I really want to point at. About a minute and something. So let's check it out. And you all, I just want to make that say that before we press play, so you all understand where I'm coming from. All right, here we go. And I want to hear y'all thoughts before we go into the first topic. All right, here we go.
I really had to sit down with this question and think to myself, could it be that some may see the idea of being single long-term or just being single in general as a Westernized concept because of the simple fact that choosing to be single means that you're choosing you? It's more of an individual choice, which is a product of individualism. And for those who are not in Western culture, the idea of individualism is essentially foreign or looked down upon in non-Western culture. The idea of community is literally the cornerstone of their existence. So doing anything that is outside of contributing to the community is seen as selfish.
All right. So what she brought out is not part of any of the three subtopics. But I thought it was really important because of what her thought process is. This is me telling y'all my thoughts, was that those that's not of Western culture, they base their whole existence around community. And it's interesting because that's kind of like our motto when dealing with Bed Marzan. We're talking about the community. So what's y'all thoughts on that video? It's not like the subtopics, but I want to see y'all thoughts on it. You're muted if you're talking more, though. I just want you to know that.
The Nashim go first every time, unless it's just something that's just shot up in my bones. I don't know why y'all do this. We're like on our fifth, sixth week now. Like y'all going to eventually have to press the mute button. That was the cue to press the mute. Okay, all right, okay. More I got. I was like, good gracious, this is crazy.
Oh goodness. I don't disagree with her. I think that individualism. My individualism is a westernized way of thinking, especially when we like look at Torah and we look at history of just, not just Hebrew Israelites, but also like African communities and other communities that are outside of America in the Western world. They move as units, as communities. So this idea of like singularly worrying about myself, which is okay, to think about yourself and to want to put yourself first. But I do agree with her just saying that individualism is a westernized way of thinking. It's kind of selfish, especially with the way that it's viewed and performed in today's time. Yeah.
Okay, Toda. Shout out to Chief Prince Zabulin up in the chat. Just wanted to send a shout out to mentor of mine, friend, and the one that, ordained and elevated me. All right. Next. Oh my goodness gracious.
All right, I'm just gonna go because y'all just don't follow directions. It's ridiculous. Okay. I do view it as a Western. Now, this is the only thing that I'm going to put the West on, in a sense, just for the aspect of being single and the lack of community. Most Eastern cultures, regardless of which one, whether you go to Africa or I'll say Asia, I'll kind of leave Europe out of it, but even them, in a sense, they all were very communal. I think that is innate in just man and woman, period. So this is a very strange and foreign concept that we have over here. This is the only thing that I'll put the coined term westernized on.
I'm loving it. I can't wait to see what you're about to say to these topics. Come on, anybody got anyone else before we go forward?
I do.
Oh, she got there we go.
So I agree with her 100%. And just kind of landbacking off what everybody else has kind of stated, I think community is a huge aspect of our culture. I know that community is a huge aspect of our culture, and choosing to be single when it is very selfish. But I will also say, culturally, scripturally, right? The women always go from their household. They're always covered. There's always a man covering them. They go from their father as a covering. Their father gives them away. Then they go underneath their husband's rulership, and so on and so forth. If they happen to lose their husband or something happens, then the norm is for them to go back underneath their father's rulership. They go back to their father's house. So I will say, for me personally, because I think I'm the only single one on here, as a single woman that is doing her best to walk out culturally, the choice of being single, I think, as a righteous woman who is seeking to build properly, the choice of being single, in my opinion and in my struggle currently, is based off of community, though, because if I cannot build properly with somebody, if I am not a proper helpmeet unto somebody, if things are not aligned in the way in which we can perform our ministry under Yahuwah, then it is going to be detrimental not only to ourselves, our family, our communities, because then we are operating in a sort of dysfunctionality, and then we are no good to our communities. We are no good to the nation. We are no good. So in the same sentiment, I have returned to my father's house in that sentiment. However, I do think that in the westernized right? The Westernized mindset of being single and independent, and I'm going to do things on my own, and I don't want to listen to anybody, or I don't want to be ruled over by anybody or anything like that. I do think that that is indeed selfish, because then you just don't have the opportunity to operate in the functionality in which Yahweh set in order. And anything outside of his order is dysfunctionality. So you're automatically becoming dysfunctional at that point if we're not operating in order. So those are my 2 cents. Zehu.
All right. Anyone else before we go forward? No? Going once? Going twice? All right, let's get it. Let's go. Let's go. Here we go. For those that's tuning in right now, please, this is the time. Make sure that you share. Make sure that you like. Make sure that you subscribe. It's about to get heavy. Here we go. First topic. Is Westernized thinking coined because women, mostly, there was a parenthesis in there. I can't even. Women or men do not follow suit with traditional roles? Is Westernized thinking coined because women or men do not follow suit with traditional roles? Now, I do want to say the original one had before I changed this one. And for the women part, didn't it say mostly? So okay, so let's go back to the original. Is Westernized thinking coined because women mostly or men do not follow suit with traditional roles? Y'all want me to read that again? Or y'all good to go?
No.
Okay, I'm just saying, y'all just staring like y'all, like, deer seeing the headlights.
Because for some reason, my wonderful sisters, they just, we got to have a meeting after this. Is Westernized thinking coined because of that? No. And kind of what I was speaking on in the beginning was the aspect of Westernized world, the Westernized thinking, or Westernized as a word, period. That comes from colonialism. That's something that was deemed a thing from the Europeans, in a sense, to distinguish the Westernized world or the civilized world from the Eastern world or the uncivilized world, right? So when you're talking about traditional roles, is that the basis of being Westernized? No. I think you would have to pinpoint which culture you're talking about when it comes to traditional roles. Depending on the culture or the tribe that you're speaking of, there were women who did quote unquote the roles of the men, and so on and so forth. So I don't think that that's the reason why. Now, if we're talking about black men and women, and because Westernized is quoted, then I would say yes, but only due to that being the context. But in a broader scope, no. I think that we over here, the quote unquote black man and woman, we have taken on a foreign culture that was really, if you want to get technical, was kind of founded in the East. So I'll stop there and let my the Miss Bacot answer, but I'll yield there.
All right, man. You starting to cook. You just gonna throw the pot off the, before you get started. Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else? Anyone else?
Is Westernized thinking coined because women and men?
Nasika is talking, but she's muted.
Oh,
She's been talking for like 5 minutes.
yeah.
I don't even know if she knows that she's muted. Nasika is muted and you frozen. Unless you just want
Sorry,
to
you all. The whole time I thought I was speaking through his. I have to. Okay, so let me start over. Is Westernized thinking coined because women or men do not follow suit with traditional roles? I was saying that Moore Dawood said something that was very key. He said in a lot of cultures, the roles on the outside looking in would look reversed. The women's roles would look like the men's roles, and the men's roles look like the women's roles. Just because if you're ignorant towards certain cultures, your mindset will be like, well, isn't the man supposed to be doing this or the woman supposed to be doing that? And I see this question. I ask this question like this because if you go on the internet now and you look up Westernized thinking, it's going to predominantly point towards men interviewing women, and it coming up saying women are Westernized because they're not doing traditional roles. And I believe that, like I say, it's kind of controversial if you're not pointing back to a specific culture. Either go back to your normal roots, or are we just talking about a woman supposed to cook, stay at home, raise the children, a man supposed to go work, bring in and take care and provide for the family? Those things are often convoluted or mixed up with being cultural, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Those things are mixed up, and people will coin that as cultural, when really cultural is an example of it. Some people in cultures wear certain things to signify who they are. Like in a lot of the tribes, there's a tradition where they eat the blubber of I think it's a whale. They eat it raw, and their people can eat it raw. You know, they do it. It's delicious to them. They cut it up and all that type of stuff, y'all. But they can do that. That's part of their culture. That's part of their tradition. So when we say Westernized, a lot of times I think people are coining it because a man is not doing what they want them to do, and a woman is not doing what they want that person to do. And that's where I think it comes from, because you have people that don't even follow cultures, you all, that dress just like everybody else. They are complaining about men and women being Westernized. And I believe they're using it as an excuse to say that we're not following suit, when they themselves are very ignorant to what culture and anything outside of what a man and a woman is supposed to do. They're ignorant of that. Zehu.
All right, powerful. I love that last part you brought out. That was like extremely key for me as I was listening and taking in what you were saying. Hold on about for that. Anyone else? Shalom, shalom. Ab, Matthias. Want to make sure I greet our elder and my Ab-in-law. Anyone else? Let me pull it back up because I know y'all beat me up when I don't share it again. Oh, wrong one. Here we go. Is Westernized thinking coined because women mostly was up in there, or men do not follow suit with traditional roles?
I think that goes kind of both ways in a way. When I say both ways, meaning the Westernized culture does have a culture. It is individualized. There's a way that they live, or we live in America, that is very significant to America alone. Even people who come from other cultures, when they come here, they experience that also, and they act that out. But I don't think it's coined because of the not following traditional roles. A lot of people in the Western culture don't know traditional roles, haven't experienced traditional roles, haven't grown up with a father, or don't have a functional family. I know that, for an example, when I went to college, I'm coming from a cultural background, being West Indian. So when I went to college, it was like a whole different world for me. Even when I came home to hang out with my family, and I'm watching all the other students and how they get down, it's like, this makes no sense. This is all about you. Where's your mother? Where's your sister? So there was a lot of questions that I had, but to them, this is this is just life. So I don't feel like it's being coined. I think that a lot of people have not seen it. And I know that even when I used to have conversations with people and ask them, well, why don't your dad do this? Or why didn't you know what I mean? And they're like, what are you talking about? We don't do that. What does that look like? Why do you have to ask your parents for this? You know what I mean? So I do feel like it's unfair for us to say they're using it as a cop out when they've never seen it also.
Dang, told I. And look at Chief Prince Evelyn come in. He says the Western Eastern conundrum is a massive rabbit hole. Y'all familiar with the term rabbit hole? Yeah. Okay, so that. Anyone else? Do I need to pull it back up again? I think I got to. I'm looking. I saw more. There we go. Is Westernized thinking coined because women or men do not follow suit with traditional roles? And I like how he says a rabbit hole because a lot of this is subjective. My Ishai was leading to that when she got done speaking, and I think everyone kind of touched on it a little bit, but it becomes subjective. Are they just Westernized because of something you're not liking? You know, when you yourself don't got a cultural traditional bone on you. You know, so anyway, I'll speak last. Anyone else?
Salika, y'all. I'm cooking and helping with homework all at the same time while being on this podcast. But
we appreciate your commitment. We appreciate your commitment. You will not get paid. You will not get paid extra.
I'm here.
Not get paid extra.
So I think that in today's society, it's been coined Westernized because, as my sisters have said, like, we don't really understand the culture. And I completely agree. That's kind of where I was going with my first statement, that Chief Zebulon said, that it's a huge rabbit hole. There are so many things, even written in scripture, that were Eastern cultures that were still idolatrous, so it's like the Western and Eastern thing is like, it's a huge rabbit hole. There is so much to dig in with that. But as far as like today's understanding, and when you see other podcasts talking about, you know, women being Westernized and things like that, I do think that it is because we, as women in general, in the West, have abandoned, we've abandoned traditional roles. We've abandoned, you know, being stay-at-home moms, raising up the children, being at home with the children, teaching our own children, cooking, sewing, doing these things that even, you know, Proverbs 31 states. I think that a lot of the times we have abandoned those things. I think that now, as we've said in previous shows, that we are getting back on track to it. We are, you know, reverting and trying to seek out that ancient path. But I do think that their stance comes from, okay, the women are no longer reliant on men and operating in their roles because of things such as things we've discussed before, governmental subsidies, and the men not being in the home. So the women are reliant on government, or the women are getting better jobs and higher pay than the men. So now they are stepping into these masculinized roles that actually don't do us any good because it goes against our nature, which is a whole nother topic I could go in on. But to say in general that it's coined today because women are not operating in traditional roles, I do think that is true. But yeah, there's a whole lot more that we'll get into. So Zehu.
Yeah. And what's interesting is me and my Isha was talking about this. And you know, I'm not against that that train of thought that was just brought forth with you and my Isha. I agree with it. The problem is it's hypocritical for us men. It's hypocritical. I understand the traditional part, but then it's like, okay, are we being traditional too? Are we doing it? It has to be a balance in there, you know? And I think, like you just said, which the good men and the good women are trying to get to that point, and some are at that point. So if we're going to say it's coined because you're not being traditional in this manner, my question will be, is most of us that's saying it, do we have a background of that understanding as a man, right? Or are we doing the proper studies to find out, okay, who are the most successful men when it comes to traditions in a setting, a family setting, a nuclear home, as people will say it. Who can we glean that information from for us to be able to substantiate what we're saying about this woman? Are you being traditional as a man? Do you have the understanding of what it takes to be it? So it has to be a balance, man. I'm past the mic though.
I'll pick up the mic for a second. Yeah, I just to touch back into what Akoti Kayuya said about just this whole idea that like Westernized thinking is like out of the norm for the people here. It's normal for the people that are here in Western society. And so I don't think that this is even, I don't think the idea of like traditions and gender norms is even in their like, in their making, I would say. It's not really, it's just not something here. Like they've changed the norms, they've changed the traditions. It's not the same as how it is in different places. And so I wanted to say, sorry, y'all. So I wanted to say, I don't think that the phrase like Westernized thinking is in existence because like, oh, like most women are, not following suit in traditional ways, or men are not following, traditional roles and things like that. I think it's a part of it, but I don't think that is like what brought it into existence because it's being abandoned per se. And I wouldn't necessarily say that it's being abandoned, but instead there are other factors that are leading to people to have to take on their opposing, sex's roles, or, taking on a whole completely different role. I think Akoti Kayuya was mentioning, like they're not being fathers in certain homes. They're not being, I think Nasik, you mentioned like the jobs changing, or I think that was Akoti Zakaria, about like job opportunities changing for men and women. So now women are being given, these higher paying jobs at times, and sometimes men are not. So I wouldn't necessarily say that it's, in existence because of these gender roles. I do think that is a point to bring up, but yeah, that's all I got to say about that for now.
Toda. All right, did everybody go? All right, so to kind of close that one out, I think that when dealing with that, with the Westernized thinking as it being coined, I think we need to, in order to get out of that Westernized thought process that people say, right? We have to focus on ourselves, men and women alike. I think men and women alike needs to focus on building themselves up and understanding what that is. Oh, who did that? Oh, okay. Isha, I was wondering, like, how that just pop up while I'm speaking. Toda Rabba. All right, let's read it. It says many of the men who are pushing women to be traditional, especially with the dress code, are themselves wearing skinny jeans and Ugg boots. That's true. That's true. That's true. So if we're gonna speak it, if we're gonna say, okay, they need to do this, we have to do it as well, but some of us don't believe that we need to. A lot of us are just doing it or saying it because we want to be controlling, right? And I want to stay away from that because I know that can be subjective too, but that is typically what it is when people are only one-sided and they're not focusing on them doing that same thing. So my encouragement for that first topic is to focus on yourself, understand what culture and customs you're really seeking for your person of your future spouse to be like. Make sure you're doing that yourself. That would be my only thing to say. Anyone else have anything else before we go to the next one? I feel like we're moving pretty quickly. Goodness gracious.
I was getting kicked, and I wasn't here for this like whole thing. So could you repeat that question?
Oh, did you wait? We didn't do the second question. You did the first question though,
Oh,
right?
it's still the first one.
Yeah, we still here. For those,
Okay.
for those,
Never mind.
make sure that you subscribe right now. If you're watching right now, you're not subscribed. Make sure you subscribe right now. Make sure that you like it and make sure that you share. We still got 2 more subtopics to go through. All right, here we go. Going to it. Number 2, are other cultures further ahead because of a willingness to follow culture or because they are more strict with their laws and consequences if they don't? Are other cultures further ahead because of a willingness to follow culture or because they are more strict with their laws and consequences if they don't? Mm, mm, mm.
Go
You
ahead,
got it.
Cole. Go ahead. Nah, okay, they got hands up. Okay.
Now, who going first? You gonna go first? Go ahead.
Nasika, are you going first?
Kane, sorry.
Okay,
We gotta
that's all right.
okay. So goodness gracious, this question here. This was actually something recent, I think, in Arab news. It is in certain places, and I don't want to say like I think it's for the Arabs. I don't know exactly which part, but for a lot of the Arab women, it is against the law for them to show their faces. They are required to only show their eyes. And I thought that was so interesting. I thought it was so interesting because I know a lot of women here, and I have nothing against it. There are a lot of women here within our culture that go full coverage. And a lot of Muslims in America do it as well. But it's to the point in other countries where they were just showing their face and had their hair covered. Now they can only show their eyes. And I thought it was interesting because I believe that if those women were over here in America, they would still want to be cultural, but they wouldn't want to feel okay. There's a difference between being cultural and then being imprisoned, being what is it? You are being it's the concept of yin and yang. If anyone knows the origin of yin and yang, does anybody know that origin? Okay, my each knows it. Does anybody know that origin of yin and yang? Low, Kane. So, from my understanding, the origin of yin and yang is basically a masculine energy and a feminine energy. The masculine energy is the positive energy, and the feminine energy is the negative energy. And they balance each other out supposedly. But in short, the women, the feminine energy is the negativity in the world. So there's always going to be a certain onlook of women because they bring in like the Adam and Eve story, how many interpret it, that we're the cause of the imbalance, or we're the cause of basically the destruction or things of that nature. And when I see that, I feel like this is going back to the Tanakh, going to the Torah. I feel like what the Most High has given us is empowering. I don't think it's grievous or it's meant to put us in a place where we feel bound. I believe our literature and the things that we've been given actually protect us. But in other countries, that culture or what you would call their practices, a lot of it demonizes women and even certain men that stand up for according to their culture righteousness. So if we could bring the question up again so I can answer it in short. Are other cultures further ahead because of a willingness to follow culture or because they are more strict with their laws and consequences if they don't? If they do not cover their faces completely, they will be thrown in jail. And we do it over here as a way to express, I think, what we believe we know about our culture. Whereas in other cultures, if they don't follow that law, they get taken to jail. So I would wonder what it would be like if they were over here in America.
So are they further ahead?
Are they further ahead?
That's a question.
I would say no, not really. No. In some aspects, but not across the board. No. Zehu.
Okay. Anyone else?
Chef,
Yeah. Can we bring the question up again?
Oh.
Just a bit. Please. Just to piggyback off of Nasika Amuna.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all forgive me, please.
Just who?
We're talking about westernized thinking.
We just lost people. That.
We see.
That's westernized right there. Oh. All right, go ahead. Sorry. Can you rephrase that for us, please? Can you rephrase that for us, please, before we go forward?
All right. Let me say, to beef back off of Nasika Amuna, my apologies. I am a young woman in this Western society who has a habit of using certain vocabulary. No, just to bounce back off of what she was saying. Yes, there are those cultures out there who like use the extreme and are more strict with their laws and the consequences, but I do not think that they are farther along in the terms of technology, their way of thinking, their habits, like everything is kind of like old school. They're stuck in their like ways, and not all ways in the past are correct. Like they haven't really evolved. Based when I look at cultures that follow a more strict and harsh way of going about things, they don't evolve, in my opinion, just based off of what I've seen. Whereas when you look at, for instance, I'll say the Chinese, or I'll say like more on the Asian culture. When we look at Koreans or even Chinese and Japanese people who have a willingness to keep their culture and their traditions alive. Like this is just something that they want to do and they enjoy doing because this is who they are as a people. I think that they are further along, and this is what allows them to succeed compared to like where we are in America, and we kind of have lost a bit of our traditions and, you know, the things that are supposed to be, you know, a part of us and who we are. So I would say, yeah, like the willingness to do it is definitely what pushes them further along, because when we look at, you know, just these different countries and we get to see like the ins and outs by going on like these different apps like TikTok, free TikTok, and this new app called Red Note. It allows us to see into like I think it's a Chinese app. So it's called Red Note, Xiao Hongshu. And I recently just downloaded it because I was like, oh, if TikTok is being erased, you know, I still want to be able to connect with people all over the world. And funny enough, this app is like Chinese based. And so we're able to see inside of their world essentially. And even though they, you know, are a little modernized, like, you know, how Western society is, they still have a lot of their traditions, and we're able to see it, like their food, their diets, the things that they wear still, you know, oh my gosh, I just lost the word. The modesty between the women, the way that they dress is what I mean, things like that. We still see that. And I think because they want to be who they are and they want to honor their ancestors and their culture and their traditions, they're further ahead because they're taking and they're keeping, they're taking and retaining. So that's all I got. Excuse me.
Jeremiah 6. And 16, thus says Yah, stand at the crosswords and look, as for the ancient paths where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. I agree with you. I think, especially with technology, as you was bringing out, I'm glad you brought that point out. I think that we have been advancing, but I would say, now this is going to bring a different conversation a little bit. Were back then, were they not advanced? Or are we more advanced? That's a whole nother topic, but I do want y'all to kind of answer it. Since you brought it up, Moran, you brought it up. So, so I do agree with that. I think for me, I'm going to jump in. I normally go last, but I got to jump in. When I look at this question, it's objective and subjective. What my Isha brought out is some extremist type stuff that the men and them do to the women. I agree with that. But then I have to look at the side of, okay, what about family structure? Because I always go back to that. I always go back to family structure and stuff, like with the customs and the cultures of how men and women should be. That's why I brought out that Jeremiah 6:16, even though that can be used for different topics. But I always look through the old ways of how the Most High intended for man and woman to be. And then I look at how we're using it today. A lot of men are misusing it. A lot of women are misusing it. But the Most High still says, go back to the ancient paths, right? And let me read it again. Ask, matter of fact, ask for the ancient paths. I want to know what it's saying in Hebrew, by the way. But it says, ask for the ancient paths, which kind of lets me know that we're not asking. So ask for it, where the good way is, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls. I think that's interesting because a lot of us are going through stuff within. We're not restful. We're continuing to search for things that's not really beneficial for us within, right? Whether it's
hold that. Okay.
Right.
Keep
but he said, but they said, what did he say? And then, but then, what do you say? You sound like, what'd you say? You cutting my wisdom, man. Do not interrupt an elder. I'm not an elder, y'all. But
I do see grace. I do see grace.
To say something like that. Anyway, but the last part it says, but they said, we will not walk in it. It said, but they said, we will not walk in it. And that's what I think we're struggling with and we're fighting with. So for me, I'm just going to answer it. Are other cultures further ahead because of the willingness to follow culture, or because they are more strict with their laws and consequences if they don't? I mean, look at our laws. Look at the consequences that we have with our laws. We can't really do it like that because we're not in power. Or some people go against me and say, well, we can. If we really about that business, we'll do it. I got you. Cool. Better read Jeremiah a little bit more. But our laws are strict. Our laws have consequences. So this question is literally can be put on us. I think that other cultures that have a closeness of that type of a structure are further along when it comes to community and structure. But as Morah said, technology side, I rock with on that. What's meant by further along? Anyone else? You pulled this up. Someone said, what's meant by further ahead? That's a great question. So that's why I said subjective. It can be looked at subjective. Like what more Amma brought out was perfect. It was subjective, but it was right. But then I'm looking at it from a standpoint of man and woman. Us as men and women, how we're supposed to be. And looking at the ratio of us getting divorced, not being together, we're free, we could just leave and stuff now. It's a lot of different subjects. So it's that rabbit hole that Chief Prince Zabulon was talking about earlier. But I'm gonna pass the mic because I've been hogging it. But
hogs, pigs, y'all doing a lot tonight between you and Moron. I'm not sure. We got hogs, we got piggy blood. This is
what should I switch to?
It's okay.
No, I'm thinking about
go ahead,
basketball. You know, did I beat you in? Did I
No,
beat you?
nope. Still holding.
Now
Still.
y'all know I raised my hand. Y'all wrong.
Go
Y'all
ahead.
wrong.
Yeah,
You
I
can
was
go
waiting
ahead.
till y'all was gonna let my sis go because she
Y'all
was
wrong.
supposed to be second.
Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
Y'all keep jumping and cutting the line
I'm
like
so sorry.
subordinate students.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my.
Anyways, so
All right.
here's my take on the matter.
You're being
I do
westernized right
believe,
now. Look how she's talking to us. Westernized.
but y'all being rude. Okay, here we go. So are other cultures further ahead because of a willingness to follow culture? I think it's both. I think that their willingness to follow culture allows the rules to be more strict because they know that their citizens or the ones who are supposed to be following the rules are going to be willing to do so. I think that it has a lot to do culturally with the way they are initially reared up, just like Proverbs 22:6, train a child in the way they should go. When they are old, they shall not depart from it. A lot of these cultures have a very, very strong and heavy influence on honor of the family, honor of each other. In Japanese culture, it's literally death before dishonor. They will off themselves before they are willing to dishonor their family, their culture, their bloodlines, anything of that matter. And we don't have that, essentially. Being in education, I do see a lot of like educational videos. I noticed that a lot of these other cultures are very heavily emphatic on rearing these children to be of a certain standard. So in a lot of these Asian cultures, whether it be China or Japan or what have you, these children, while they're in school, they're learning how to cook, they're learning how to garden, they're learning how to sew things. They're doing things that are way beyond what we are doing here in the Western world. And that is my goal in education, is to allow and afford our children the opportunities to be able to do things like that, because I do believe that that is a big aspect on, as you brought up in Jeremiah, returning to the ancient path. We do need to return to the ancient path. Scripture says, and the Father says right there, that is where our souls will find rest. That is where his order is. That is where we are going to be allowed and allotted to have the freedom to be women, to be men, to be in operational, functional order of what Yahweh has set up. So in that sense, it's starting with our little ones, which is also, this is a whole nother rabbit hole, but which is also why the enemy is so incessant on getting to their minds, right? Which is a huge part of my ministry. The basis of my ministry is children, whether it be through music, whether it be through education or motherhood, whatever it is, the basis of my ministry is children. And that is because children hold such a strong influence. I always say, especially in this walk, if our children are not regarded as valuable and necessary, a lot of our work is going to be in vain, because they're not going to be able to carry on the torch. They're not going to want to carry on the torch. They're not going to see the value and understand the value in what it is we're doing, unless we have heavy intervention and intercession from the Father himself, like what happened with us. But it is now our responsibility to pass on that torch and to instill these values within them that allows them to be able to follow these rules. It's kind of like Torah. We could say that are we willing to would we be further ahead if we were willing to follow Torah? Some people would say that Torah is strict. For me, it is not a burden. As Nasika said earlier, for me, Torah is beneficial. I see the benefit in it. And the only part that is difficult about Torah for me is battling against my own flesh. It's not Torah itself. It's me. I make it difficult when I go towards my own desires rather than going towards what the Father has set in place to protect me. We know that Torah is indeed our protection. So to kind of bring it full circle, a lot of the times in these other cultures, I would say from my personal perspective, because my goal is to return to the ancient path and to have our Yaladim and future generations return to the ancient path, that yes, they're much further ahead than we are, because they have been reared in a cultural society in which they honor their father and mother. They honor the adults in their life. They have respect for not only the people and the authorities in their lives, but also their environment. They clean up the schools afterwards. Excuse me, baby. Excuse me, hold on. They clean up their schools afterwards. You know, they are given a greater set of responsibilities because of their capabilities and because of the way they've been reared. They are able to now produce stronger and better responsibilities and carry on those responsibilities because they have been reared so from a young age. I'm going to go on a little bit further. I apologize. I know I am going on and on, but I always also say that here in this system, their goal is to retard our children. And etymologically, retard means to set back, to hold back, to delay. That is the intent of this system. When we are looking at things, even when I look at these curriculums, it's so frustrating to me because our children have the capability of being so much further ahead than what they are even regulating in these curriculums and what they are saying, oh, this first grader should know or the second grader should know, so on and so forth. Our children have the capability of accomplishing and being much more than that, but they very intentionally set back and hold back our generations because they don't want us to have that level of autonomy. They want rebellion. They want to instill this rebellious nature and this rebellious state within us, so that they can manipulate us into thinking that we are free when we are not free. So we think that we're rebelling against something, but we're actually digging ourselves further into a trap, and more on that later. But long story short, yes, I think that they're much further ahead.
There's absolutely nothing short about the story that you just told. You can't long story short after you made it long. Like that's completely backwards. That made
my fault.
You might be trying to see if we retarded, because I'm not retarded. I know that you can't say long story short after you didn't went around the block 3 times and talking about, well, I'm gonna keep going forward, but y'all just hold on a little bit more.
I made it shorter than it could have been. Okay.
Oh my God.
And I got a question before you go more, Daoud. What in the witchcraft is going on with your camera? It's going back and forth fast, and you ain't even touching the screen.
I know. It's an iPad. It is witchcraft. It's an iPad. It's not mine though, but still.
I'm watching. She doing something else, and it's just coming in like this. I'm like, what in the world?
I know, it's weird. It trips me out too.
All right, y'all. Who's next?
I'm sorry. Absolutely unnecessary. Are cultures further ahead because of a willingness to follow culture, or because they are more strict with their laws and consequences if they don't? A willingness to follow culture. I say that because depending on a culture are the customs and practices of a community to fix the problems of that community. So if your culture is based solely around your community, then the things that you do culturally are going to benefit you. Now, everybody who goes along with that, as long as they are a part of the community that's doing the culture, they're going to flourish. Because regardless of the strictness or the laxness of your laws, right? For instance, Greece wasn't necessarily strict. Rome wasn't necessarily strict, but they flourished. Why did they flourish? Because the people bought into the culture. Those who come over here to America, you buy into the quote unquote American dream. And guess what? Those who are running the culture and those who are, creating it in a sense, they are benefiting from it. Now, if you are of a particular community and now you try to adopt the ways and customs of another people that don't benefit you, then even if you try to adopt it, they're not going to be advantageous to you. For example, the Most High said, we made a covenant with death, right? Or we took on the ways of the people that were around us. And every time we did that, even though it seemed to be working for them, which is why we wanted to join or to partake in those customs, every time we did it, it wouldn't work out the same for us because it wasn't for us. So it's not about whether your laws are strict or whether they're loose. It is about the culture for your particular community. The reason why we are not farther ahead is because we have not taken on the customs that the Most High gave us, which would benefit us wholeheartedly. For example, a quote, Mora Zakaria said something about the school system, right? In all actuality, you don't have to teach that. Not talking to her, but whoever is homeschooling or so on, you don't have to teach the curriculums that they give you. You can always create your own curriculums, but because you have bought into that culture's education system, now you are teaching something that is not beneficial to your children. So you go to Asia, guess what? Their curriculum isn't like ours. Why? Because it doesn't benefit them. So even if certain families from these communities in Asia come over here, they're still going to carry the curriculum that they need for their children. So it's like we are further ahead in what way? Somebody spoke on technology. I think somebody, Piggy, went to the market. Whoever said the Piggy was talking about technology. Sorry. Anyway, technology was quote unquote global, right? Because I don't believe in the globe, but that's another conversation. Technology was a global advancement. It wasn't something that was just in a pocket of, because people in Africa got cell phones. People in South America got cell phones and internet and computers and cars and all of these other things that we think that we have and that we're just so technologically advanced. When in all actuality, all of these other communities and cultures, either if they want them because it will benefit them, then they'll get it. But if it doesn't benefit them, then they're going to back away from it. For example, or for instance, in Asia, their TikTok algorithm is completely different from the TikTok algorithm here in America. Here in America, you got ratchetness. In Asia, you have education and business and growth and agriculture. And those are the things that their culture promotes on the same technology. But it's different based on what? Culture. So are they further ahead because of laws? No, that's not necessarily, but because of the willingness of the family, going back to what Nasik was speaking on, the willingness of the family to say, this is what we have done in the past, and this is what benefits our people. And we have history that it benefits our people. So this is the path that we're going to take. The old paths doesn't mean outdated. Ancient paths doesn't mean outdated. It means that this is a path that has been beat because many people have walked upon it. So if you want to follow anything that you want to be great in, most people, what they do is they follow the greats that came before them. So culturally, we have to look at which era or which picture of our community was the most prosperous, and not just financially, but holistically. And that's the model that we need to take based on our cultural paradigm. And I yield.
Man, look at y'all, man. If y'all ain't subscribed for this particular platform by now, make sure you do so. Y'all, but we're supposed to listen to our elders, right? We're supposed to listen to our elders, listen to what our Metathiah said. Great info being imparted here, Miss Pakawa family. So let's like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm thankful for the panel that I have on here, that me and my Isha have, because you all are amazing in your presentation and what you have to say. And I'm looking forward to hearing what more Kayilian's about to say. Come on, bring it out more. What you got for us?
Listen, Mora Zakaria and Mora Daoud kind of hit it on the head on everything that I was going to say. But there was two words that came to mind. And one is, the question is, are other cultures further ahead because of their willingness to follow culture, because they are more strict with their laws? And I think honestly, cultures are ahead because they're not reinventing the wheel. So a lot of that reinventing is what's setting us back, and also the lack of accountability. So having a culture, and I always have this conversation with my husband, having a culture holds you accountable. It makes you walk in integrity. But not having a culture is why we have men in this westernized culture without the accountability, the integrity. It's not a traditional way to provide, protect, but they don't know what that looks like. So it's like there's nothing that has taught them to do that. Culture teaches that. It instills morals in you and makes you morally good. So that lack of having it is what's actually setting us back. It's not the stricter rules and things like that. It's just not having it at all is what is making it hard for us to be accountable to ourselves and also to others, especially to ourselves. Because when you meet people and you're like, well, dang, she ain't got no morals. No, she doesn't, because she has nothing to attach to. So there is nothing to hold her accountable. So in the West Indian culture, we say she has no nose, meaning she can't smell what she's doing. And if no one told me that what I'm doing looks a certain way, then no, I have no nose. I don't think it's wrong. And that's basically what we're dealing with. That lack of accountability, that lack of culture, that lack of anything is really what's setting us back.
So what you're telling me is that's why Dwayne Johnson always said what he said.
What do you say?
Forget it, For those that know,
What the Rock is cooking.
they know.
Oh
like, what
my
is
god! Oh my gosh! Oh my.
Hey, real quick though, this is why I said a couple weeks ago, being more Daoud was going back and forth, and I talked about this with my in-law too, and I just said it recently too, a couple questions ago. We got to start with ourselves. So you can't having an elder or somebody over you is not going to do nothing for you if you don't have accountability within yourself first. If you don't have accountability within yourself first, then no one can hold you accountable because they can't give you consequences. But if you hold yourself accountable, you'll be willing to accept the consequences if it's needed consequences for you. So it all has to start within. We see that throughout our whole Tanakh, right? Circumcise your, right? Talking to each person individual.
Foreskin.
I know, man.
Oh, you talking about the heart? My fault. Wrong scripture. My fault. Wrong one.
Goodness gracious. You just always coming. Pause. Let's keep going though.
Whoa.
So did anybody else have anything? Really? Really?
Chief Prince,
Not a part of this.
Chief Prince, get him. Flag on the play.
He would have said it if he was here. If he would have jumped in and said it. Anyway, let's see what Elder Bob says. Holding yourself accountable shows strength of character. That's the part right there. We have, in order to, that's the number one thing. I promise you. See, look at him. Look at him. You see that? That's Chief Prince. All right. So let's keep going. Did anyone else have anything else to say in regards to this second one? We have one more left, you all. Those is in the comments. What's your thoughts? Do you have any thoughts towards this question? We'll post it, we'll read it. And again, you all subscribe, share, like. Is that who? That's it. We're gonna go forward. Last question, you all. How can we
say something, but you
shoot. I'm bringing it down there. Go ahead. Who's gonna say something?
All
right.
So I was just gonna just highlight just when we were talking about what do we mean by further ahead, and then how we changed how we looked at it from a different lens of just technology, where I highlighted the different cultures and how they are further ahead because of their willingness, and looking at the different lens when we were specifically talking about excuse me, when we were specifically when you guys were talking specifically about I'll say mothers and fathers in the house and kind of just traditional roles, because we're going back to that traditional role. just seeing the different lens, I definitely now agree when I look in this lens that when, can we put up that second question again? Just so that I'm like correct about the words I'm using. I think the people that are more strict with their laws and consequences in this aspect of like the father and the mother and, you know, the husband and wife, I do think that when, because they're more strict with the roles in the positions that they are playing, that they are further along in that aspect. So I do agree with you all. I didn't look at that lens because I'm thinking like, oh, like in a broader grand scale. But when we're looking at family values, I definitely agree that the people that are following a more strict way of moving about it, and thinking, and they have consequences because they're thinking about the consequences of what happens when they break up families and they, you know, they tear apart from the roles that they have for, you know, each other and in their homes. They know how this will affect not just their home, but their group as a whole. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah, I agree in that.
All right.
And then question now, see, and based off of what a coach was just saying,
Hopefully I got an answer. Go ahead.
you usually do. Usually, I don't think I've ever heard I don't know from you.
That is not
maybe
true.
you can tell me. Maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever heard him say, you know what?
Definitely wrong.
I don't know, Adon. You know, maybe you can enlighten me more, Adon. But anyway, my question. When you say laws, right? Are there laws for having to be within a certain family structure, or is it just the cultural dynamic of a certain society? But would you say that those are necessarily laws, or that's just the way that we move? Are those customs, right? You know, like in Ibrit, we got mitzvot, and then we got kukot, right? So we got customs or practices. Okay, go ahead, Aki.
So are you asking me, are there laws, which I know you don't answer to more than likely, but are you asking, are there laws within the Torah or the Tanakh that is focusing on family structure?
Well, I mean, so kind of like based off the question, right? You said, so are other cultures further along for their willingness to follow that culture, or because of their laws being stricter and the consequences being more dire than other cultures? And what I'm asking is, when you look at the family structure, right? Because you spoke on the family, and then Mora lambed back off you. Are you saying that those are more laws, or are those just customs of that particular society? And then,
Well,
like, even when you look into not, if you
There
can
you
go
go.
into that as well.
He gonna add more stuff
Yeah, just
within
a
the
little bit.
question. You know, Torah or Torot simply means instructions. I know you all know this, but those that don't know it, I gotta say it. Torah or Torot simply means instructions, right? I teach that there's a such thing as Torah law, and then there's Torah. Like when you look at we say the Nebi'im, the prophets, there's Torah within there. It's instructions within there. So if you are a father or a mother, right, you may have the skeletal structure of the Torah to govern the people as your culture is supposed to function as a group. But then you may have Torah within your home. Certain things that are laws, because you I don't know if you're about to say something funny, but certain laws that you might have created within your home. It says, honor thy mother and thy father, right? So if your mother and your father have certain laws that may not be the typical laws as for everyone, those laws is what they see that can benefit you going forward, and benefit and make sure it does not be an impact towards your family name and things like that as well. So I think when my Isha wrote this question number 2, I think that their laws and consequences is a combination of both. Their laws dealing with how they're supposed to move culturally, but then there are structured laws within your home that's going to actually add a little bit to make sure that you stay in the confinements of the group laws. Hopefully I answered. Hopefully I answered.
You did you did what you normally do. Bother my soul with your answers. Just instead of just going straight line, it's more zigzagging, and it's okay. You did great, Nasi. You did great. You did great.
Metathiah says, as Mora Dawood said, ancient does not mean outdated. One of the things that is a detriment to our culture is modernization. It's going to be a tongue twister. Thinking that the order or way of thinking is outdated or old fashioned. Yeah. All right. Bye for that. Let's go with the last one, you all. Man, last one. How can we improve the westernized mindset if it is, in fact, the common denominator for our current state? Jeremiah 6:16. Read. Hold on, I got to get to it. I wouldn't have been a good reader on the streets. Thus says the Most High, stand at the crossroads and look, ask for the ancient paths. So that tells you right there to be humble. Like, in order to ask, you got to be humble. You know what I'm saying? Where the good way is. Ask what's the good way, because the way that I'm going about ain't working. I'm failing. I done been through 500 women and I done been through 500 men, and it ain't working for me. Or, I'm losing all my jobs. Every time I get on
both ways,
or a boss, he says this about me and I get fired. So where is the good way? And then it says, and walk in it, and you will find rest for your souls, because it's already there for you, right? An elder of mine says his job is to shorten your learning curve, which I believe he coined that basically from the Tanakh. The Tanakh's job is to shorten our learning curve, learn all the horrible things that we did back then and the great things that we did back then, and take in what's going to be beneficial. But you know what they said? Jeremiah 6:16 said, we will not walk in it. So that's my answer for this. Anyone else got to ask? More that will. Oh my goodness. Okay, I saw my. Go ahead, Christy.
All right. How can we improve the westernized mindset if it is in fact the common denominator for our current state? I watched a video about 3 years ago, and this was like in the 60s, I think. Maybe in the 60s. It was a black and white video, and I think it still might be on my playlist, or they might have taken the video down. And it was a couple of revolutionaries sitting around the table, and it was predominantly women. And this video actually, it went viral. And the lady, she had beautiful braids in her hair, and she was talking about, like, even back then in the 60s, our people were still trying to come up with a system that our people were governed by within the midst of racism and even other things that were outside of the culture that they were trying to build. And she said building, I can't remember her exact words, but she was talking about building a system and a structure. I think we are doing a great job now, especially those that are in this walk, and we are reconstructing the puzzle pieces that our forefathers and foremothers left for us, and we're rebuilding it. We're stating what modesty is. We're stating what manhood is, what womanhood is. And I think what we have to do is start outruling a lot of the things that were planted to bring dissension. Like, for me, I really hate the term alpha male and beta male, alpha female and beta female, because we're not monkeys. We're not animals. I don't like the terms that give us a reason to have more things to quarrel about. You know, that we're like, well, because the way he acts, that makes him an alpha male. Because he husky and you know, that makes him a beta man. I'm like, we're not animals, you all. And then we're not Greek. We're not Greek. So I feel like outruling a lot of the things that separate us. Go back to, as my Ish said, and returning to the ancient paths as best as we can. And you know, one of the things that I believe our people should do, and this is kind of a lot. I believe our people, and some of our people are actually traveling the world, not so that we can adapt to other customs, but because, like how Mordecai Yulia said, for some people, this is all they know. America, Westernization, or Europeanized mindset is all some Americans know. We have to, and if you can't travel, watch documentaries. When me and my sister were about 17 and 18, we went to the library and we got like 7 documentaries about culture. Of course, we had 3 on Africa, and we had
28 on Asia.
No, we didn't. Asia. This is before our Asian stage, you all. This is before our Asian stage, so we did not have any Asian documentaries. We had 3 from Africa, and then one was, I think, Arabia. One was in the Madagascar. I think that's how you say it. And the Madagascar region was colonized by the French, you all. It's crazy. But anyway, we had 7 documentaries, and we watched those documentaries about culture. And that's what we learned about, just so many different cultural things that tie community together. It was beautiful. And I think we need to travel, and I think we need to see outside of America, because I heard this one young lady who was on social media. She was a social media associate, and she said, the thing about you Americans, she said, you are always so self-centered and thinking that everything is about America. That humbled me, you all, because this was a young woman who was actually in this walk, but because, you know, and let me hurry, a lot of times when we come in this walk, we think America, Judah, that's what we're saying. We're pushing Americans. She was like, well, what about us over here in these other countries? She said, Americans are very self-centered. And it made me think, well, we need to look beyond ourselves, because there is something out there that we can grab, because our forefathers were everywhere. Not the idol worship and all those things, you all, but just the community, because some of us only know Europeanized mindsets. And with that, I yield.
Okay.
All right. Before I pass the mic, I see it's a lot more people in here right now. If you are just tuning in, make sure you go back and watch from the beginning up to the part that you are at now. Also, make sure that you're sharing, subscribe, and like the video. Says, and then trying to fix it to match the modern times. We wrote the principle that the instruction or order is meant to teach, and then park into future generations. I thought you said pork. I thought you said pork. My eyes. All right. Told everybody. I'm passing the mic, y'all.
This guy here. Okay. Okay. So I agree. I like where you were going to call. I really would have liked to heard more about this round table meeting with mostly Nashim or women in it, because I think women definitely have a vital role to play in our restoration. The improvement of the Westernized mindset. Honestly, I don't think that you have to go, and this, to me, right? I guess you can probably say this is self-centered American talking. You don't have to go outside of America in order to learn culture, right? And I'm not saying not to travel. I'm kind of giving an alternate route to what a cult was saying, right? Because maybe you can't travel.
Wait. See, this is why listening is odd. She also said, Mr. Mordau.
Or watch documentaries. Kane. Okay. All right. Wonderful. All right. You done? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Aha. Yeah, I got it. Anyway, the two that a cult Nasika spoke on, either go out the country. If you ain't got no passport, watch a documentary. Most of y'all don't know where library is, so I'm going to help you with a third route, right? most of you have a Arab friend, co-worker, Korean boss, Jewish secretary, so on and so forth, right? And the elders within these other certain communities, right? You have so many different subcultures within America that if you really wanted to learn culture outside of mainstream American culture, you could find it. You can go. I don't know if they'll let you in, but you can go to a Mormon community or an Amish community. If you live in New York or you live in LA, you know, most High be with them. If you live in those areas, you have a K-Town, which is a Korean town. It's also one down here in Texas. You have Little Italy, where you could go run around with some Italians. Like there are ways to learn culture, and these people, a lot of them come from wherever they come from, and they gather together, right? So another way when we're talking about improving the quote unquote westernized mindset for our community is you have to actually live in a community. Most of these other groups of people, they are always together, right? When most of us were in school, the Hispanics, they chill with the Hispanics. The Asians, they chill with the Asians. They might, be cool with you. They might say, it was good or whatever. But most of the time, you're going to find them with their people. Why? Because they are all of the same culture. The jokes that you wouldn't find funny, all of them find funny because that's where they're from. Like when I grew up in middle school, I was in Georgia. I had a big Asian friend. He was big. He always wore flip flops even in the winter. Then I had one of my favorite, best friends was my next door neighbor. He was from India. And every time I went to his house smelled like curry. They was all dressed in garments and they let me eat, so on and so forth. I was over there chilling and I learned customs from them, certain things from them. So it's like even now, my Isha is from Guyana. Going to her house, seeing how they interact, hearing the jokes, right? Picking up on words that they say, so on and so forth. So culture is something that you can find anywhere, especially here in America, quote unquote, where it is a melting pot. And so I will yield there. Just find culture and then become a community where you can implement the culture that's designed for your people.
Okay, Toda. We got PP Bob. Says black men and women not in their natural habitat in the West. Black men and women lose virginity at 15 and 13 respectively to men they don't marry. America is a colonial social construct, and colonies gobble up different ethnic groups, the rulers and the subjugated.
And if I can on that note, right, like even in the South, right, the South, people say that the South has a different culture than most of the rest of continental U.S., right? When you're talking about the Bible Belt, especially in Georgia, I'm just shout out Georgia, that's where I'm from. But Georgia and Alabama, Mississippi, so on and so forth, you have a completely different outlook, right? And when it comes to their daughters and stuff like that, they are closer to the biblical thought process when it comes to family and how to raise their family, as opposed to the remainder of the U.S. So if you're from the South, you not most of the young ladies down there, especially in the country parts, not in like Atlanta, because that is a cesspool right now, but like outskirts of Atlanta, you have fathers who are not going to let their daughter out of their sight. You have fathers who are not going to allow their daughter to lose their virginity at 15. There are versions that are the whole family, all the young ladies in their family are virgins until they are married. That is based off how you are. Yes, I did, because ATL, even though that's where I was born at, it is ridiculous. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that. It's Shabbat. That's an abomination. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. That is all on how you choose to implement culture and whose culture you want to implement. All of our Black sisters are not street vendors, and all of our young men are not thugs, or they not walk around in skinny jeans and Uggs, Chief Prince. So just that's not everybody. Those are the people who have taken on to that culture. So you are what you portray you are.
All right. Told out. And just a little bit of encouragement. That's why I know that PP Bob wasn't here from the beginning, but the first two subjects we kind of tackled the very reasons why and how we could get away from that. And we touched on like Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16, I think it is. And we're just trying to get people to go back to the ancient paths. But I'm going to pass the mic. Let me bring the question back up. And here is the question for whoever might want to go or may want to go next. And for those that's tuning in right now, because it's still growing, I don't know where y'all coming from, why y'all wasn't here in the beginning, but told out for being here. Make sure you go back to the beginning so you can catch up to what we went through. When this is over, if you're still up, go back to the beginning. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. If it's any of y'all 20 people that's here right now, aren't subscribed, subscribe, like, and share. I pass the mic to whoever want to speak. All righty, where y'all at?
All righty, I guess I'll go. So, how can we improve the Westernized mindset? I think the only way that we can improve it is when I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, Nasik Rashishama. I think the only way to improve it is to truly have a desire for the righteousness of the Father. Our desire has to be in Torah. Our desire has to be in righteousness. And if we don't possess that, it's going to seem burdensome to us. It's going to be something that it is looked down upon. It is going to be something that is not, that's not desired. And the Westernized mindset is going to continue. And the only reason why the Westernized mindset really is so prevalent is because it looks shiny. It looks fun. It looks like this. It looks like freedom. In reality, it's not. And we are coming to the understanding now that it is not freedom. It is actually bondage. And that Torah in itself and righteousness is indeed freedom. But until we get to that place where we are no longer desirous of the Westernized mindset and the things that it comes with, we will remain as a people. We will remain stuck in that because we will remain in our current state, because there's no way any change can take place unless there's an internal change within the people. If there's no internal change within the people, you can preach on the street corners all you want. You can, say, hey, this is the best thing for you. How many times has Yahweh himself been like, hey, this is the best thing for you. I love you. This is the way. This is the truth. This is the life. This is beneficial for you. These laws don't help me any. I'm already righteous. These are for you. How many times does he scream that from the mountaintop and reach out his hand to us? Yet and still, because we had a desire, we still possess that desire for these other outside things that are not in alignment with his righteousness. We continue to repeat these cycles, and we continue to chase after these false mighty ones and after these other Elohim of these outside nations, because it looks like something, it's working for them. So we think that we can go do that, when in reality, we cannot. And it's not beneficial to us because we are his people. So I think in that sense, to kind of keep it, condensed, is that I don't think that there won't be any improving until we as a nation humble ourselves. And I can never remember if it's First Chronicles or Second Chronicles 7:14, where it says, if my people, Second Chronicles, thank you. I don't know why I always forget that every time. But anyways, Second Chronicles 7:14, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves, pray and seek my face. The first step is humility. But how do you get to humility? You have to recognize and hold yourself accountable and recognize that you are wrong. And that's very difficult for a lot of us to do, not only due to past traumas and the things that we have put ourselves into, but it's very difficult to just accept accountability and be like, you know what, I was wrong. So a lot of the times we get ourselves into a situation in which we are blatantly tired of our current situation because of all the trauma we have put ourselves into. And then we want to say, oh, okay, I'm done with this, I'm tired. But that's not the level of desiring that the Father wants. He wants an inward change that is truly desirous of his righteousness, not just because we don't want to be under the curses anymore, but because we truly love him. And I yield with that.
And you said something. You said something about shiny. And that seems to be the thing with our people from back then, even to now. I think more Kayelia brought something similar up earlier too. And I just wanted to read something, and I'm gonna pass the mic to you all. I think there's a couple more of you that have haven't spoke yet. So, First Maccabees 1, verse 41. This is an example dealing with. I think this was Greek. Yeah, I think it was Greece. Let's read it. Moreover, verse 41, First Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 41. Moreover, King and Antioch, I can never say his how you say his name, man? There you go. I'm tired, y'all. I've been up all day. Here we go. Wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be the one people, and everyone should leave his laws. Oh, that's funny. We were just talking about that. Everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Okay, he the king. Okay. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. This is an interesting book for those of you that may not have read it. So yeah, it's we tend to look at things as just more shiny, man, and we've been doing that from back then to now. Is more appealing, and a lot of it is because there's less consequences. It's not the same. It's not the we look at these laws, as more Zakaria was bringing out earlier. We look at these laws as like it's grievous on us because we don't really want to do it. It's not within us, you know. But those that seems like it's less laws we go to. One of you all brought out earlier that some people in the other, like from the East or whatever they coming from, they like to come to America because it's the land of the free, as they say. And it's just because of that shiny outlook that it has. So I'm going to pass the mic. I'm going to pass it by. No, I've been up from, I ain't going to respond to you, man. Next.
I apologize. I just need to interject very quickly because the fact that you brought up that segment also, and it ties everything in. So since MLK Day just passed, I actually had my high schoolers for social studies and literature. I had them read that passage in Maccabees. First Maccabees, I think I had them read 46 through, I don't know. It ended with the chapter or the verse that you just read. So I had them read First Maccabees, and I had them answer a question of why they thought MLK at the end of his career or whatnot stated that he feared that he had integrated his people into a burning house. And a lot of them gave really, really great in-depth answers. But what I really wanted them to understand and what I wanted to bring out was that although I'm not taking anything away from Dr. MLK, however, our integration and our desire to integrate into these other societies has led to nothing but detriment. And it was very clear that at this time of his statement that he finally recognized that integrating rather than creating sustainability within our own separate practices was actually more detrimental to our people than it was beneficial. So all the fighting that he did, all the convincing, all the rallying, all the gathering up of people he did, he realized that all in all, it was not beneficial. We were entering into a domain that was going to remain corrupt, that was going to remain at a disservice to us, and that was going to remain something that was influential to a detrimental degree to us. And with that passage in Maccabees, I actually just read Maccabees for the first time not too long ago, and it blew my mind, because everything that they did in order for us to finally integrate, it was so systematically, it was so systematically done. And you see the parallels between these figures that we are, you know, we have a tendency to look at as shiny, right? Like, oh, he did so much for da, 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 da. And again, no disrespect to anybody, but in reality, it was very harmful to our people. And we really should have been going in the other direction. And to see the parallel between what happened in the book of Maccabees to what's happening today and what's happening in these revolutionary eras, even up to the 60s, even till now, because I used to be an activist, even until now, this mindset of integration is so outlandish, and we really need to be set apart as the Father called us to be, rather than trying to integrate ourselves. So I think that it is a beautiful thing that we are coming together in this. Again, this is what we want to focus on. I wanted to bring to our high schoolers and to our children that are a little bit older that understanding of what is meant by us being set apart, and why it's important for us to be set apart, and what systematically is happening when we are being integrated, and how we are being integrated. Because you read the book of Maccabees and it's like, yo, not only were they just offing people, but it's like they were going and asking the king for permission to go ahead and break the law. But I'm like, who is your king? Like, it blew my mind. But anyways, so Zehu, dropped some stuff. Zehu.
I thought the phone was doing the same thing before, zooming in and out. Toda Rabah. Anyone else? Do you need me to pull it back up?
Maybe.
Last one.
I just want to land back off of Maura Zakaria, because she kind of put it out there, basically what our problem is. It's contrast. The reason why everybody were doing what they were doing is because there was a crowd, there was a leader, and he gave a contrast that looked better than what we were supposed to do. The way that we can change it now is that we give that contrast. That means the way we live our lives, the way we walk out, the way we talk to one another, we treat one another. It has to be a desire within our people. We have to first create that desire in our contrast. I think a lot of times we're on the street yelling, do this, do that. But just like a child, if I seen you do it, and I'm like, yo, your marriage is happy, your children are happy, they're smarter than other, I want to know what you did. And I think that's the part about us that we're not doing to change the Westernized mindset. Yes, we know that a lot of people in this Western world is Yehuda, but they also came from broken homes. So now we have to show them what a wholesome home look like, and then integrate them into that wholesome home, that wholesome community, so they can say, oh, I want this law. This is what I want to do. I don't think our people have a desire for it, or, you know, kind of like that longing for it, because we haven't made it anything. We just keep saying it's good, but we haven't made it good. It doesn't look good. You know, it's kind of like going to a bakery and you're like, I sell really good treats, but we've never seen the treats that you sell. That's kind of what we're doing. It's like, come on, this Torah is good, but there's nothing here. Like, nobody's being fed. Nobody's growing. You know what I mean? Not saying that, you know, this is everywhere, but for those who need to change their mindset, there's no contrast to change their mindset. It's kind of like, I think Nasik said in the beginning, what about the person that had like 500 people? But it's like, okay, within those 500 people, none of them showed them something different to where they needed to stop doing what they were doing. And that is the biggest problem. It's like, okay, come into this law, get a husband, you get a husband, and you're like, I need another one. So nothing has made you stop to say, oh, this one is good. This is, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because they're worse than the world. You know what I mean? And they shouldn't be worse than the world. They should be better. So there's no contrast. Instead, they're just like, oh, shoot, I should have just stayed a sinner. What am I doing this for? You know what I mean? So I do think that we are the problem. I'm just going to say that. We are the problem, because those who are walking righteous, we're not presenting a good enough contrast in order for others to say, I want what you have. not in a jealous way or envying way, but show me how you got that. And maybe they would be humble enough to say, show me the ancient path, because that looks good. And I see y'all prospering. And I also see how you guys are growing. And I want that. So I think ultimately it is us, all of us up here and all of those who are walking it out. It is us to show that community, show that love, and also for us to be more humbled and show more humility. Since we know better, now we have to do better and show more of that grace to others so they too can join the crew, and then they too will bring on others. So it's kind of like a chain reaction if we're doing it the right way.
Hallelujah.
Oh yeah. And you know it's like everything, I have no disagreement at all with what Maura Kayeya brought out. I promise you. I promise you. In addition to what she brought out, it makes me look at the history of us in the Tanakh, right? What she said is what the Most High is telling us, literally. The problem is, it's only a remnant of a remnant that truly have that desire to be Tamim, We, Shalim, Be, Balib, right? So be that blameless according to the laws, and then having that blameless mindset, perfect in heart, it says, right? Or in your mind towards the Most High. Like it's so what she said is what the Most High telling us. But the problem is, because remember when we read Jeremiah 6:16, it said that this is what you need to do, ask, but then many, they said no. So even though, they might see a more Dawood and a more Kayeya, and they've been married for so long, and they're showing, but they're looking at it like, man, that look good, but I really just still want to go do this. You know what I mean? So it's my hope that what you brought out, more Kayeya, and what all of us have been saying, and what we read in the script, what the Most High desires for us to do, happens. But it's a remnant of a remnant. Who's next? I know we got one more person, I think, to go on this. I'm gonna pull it. I got you. All right.
What's going on here?
There you go. Right.
Yes, oh my gosh, y'all brought up a bunch of great points, and I just kind of wanted to add it when Nasiki said the history, just add in that factor of how we can improve the Westernized mindset, because like as Hebrew Israelites, we're able to have the Torah and read the Torah and get the history through that. But if we're thinking of Black people within the African diaspora who don't necessarily have this book to, get their history and change their mindsets about, how we should be moving and what traditions we should be following. Though they might not have that, there is history that they can fall back on. Even though we're here in America or we're in other parts of the Western world, just because it's a piece of us doesn't mean that is the entire, doesn't mean that that's all of what is encompassed within us. I think by, encouraging others to, just study their history, where to find the information, how to find it, just highlighting it, encouraging people to go online and research information, to ask people, like Mari Dawood was saying, just, a whole nother topic about, like, asking people about their culture and their history and getting that information. By, encouraging people within the African diaspora in America to just delve and dive into history, that can help, I think, improve changing the Western mindset that has like consumed us, because it's not the only thing that defines us. We come from, so much rich history. We have so much information, and it's hard for us to find that information when we don't know it. a lot of us, a lot of Black people in America don't know that they can have this information readily. If they just go ask, if they just go search. When I was younger, it was available to me because of my family and who I was surrounded around. But I had realized then that it wasn't that common to find that information. Whereas now, they teach our history in truth and in honesty in colleges and seminars. There's libraries that hold this information. So I think encouraging, each other to really, dive into our history, to find out who we are and who we were, not just as Hebrew Israelites, but as, just Black people. That would help. That would help just change everything. So yeah, just to add on to that.
And I want to close out on what you said. I agree. I had that conversation with my Isha. I was like, if I knew a lot of stuff I learned in my late 20s, and it's because, I wasn't focused on, and most of us, I'm speaking from a lens that I think a lot of people are. I wasn't focused on studying, reading up on certain things. I waited to the end of my, and there's people within, I had this conversation with my family too, that kind of knew certain things. This man's eating a whole meal right now. Kind of knew certain things, and we wasn't sharing that information. And I believe that's important. If you are watching this and you have information that you haven't shared with your family first, and then people, do it, because that can change a person's life, and what they have involved themselves in because of that lack of information. So I appreciate you for saying that, Maura, and everyone else is present. Does anyone have anything else? If not, I'm gonna read something, and then we're going to end it with the song. Anyone else? Going once.
Yeah, real quick. Sorry, I had to trying to chew real quick. Just for the sake of laws, right? There are, when people say that it's too much or people want easy, there are thousands of laws in America, like literally just thousands of laws on the book. Like you can get in trouble for so much in America as opposed to Torah. So I think his perception and is a standard that's being demanded as opposed to what you have to do to meet that standard. In America, there's a lot, as I say, that you can get in trouble for, but the standard is very low here. Torah, quote unquote 613, some would say less because doubles and blah blah blah, whatever. But let's say even at the most 613 that's it. And a lot of those don't even apply to everybody, right? You got some for women, some for men, so on and so forth. So it's like you really don't have that much to do in order to live righteously. It's just what culture does your spirit pull you towards? And that's it.
I'm not sure if you said this. I could have missed it. Hopefully you didn't, and I don't just say it and you did say it. But hey, man, America has like over 20,000 laws or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Torah, as you just brought out, around 600 or something, so they say. Then you got the Barik Hadashah, that's over 1,000. And don't nobody know it. Am I wrong? You laughing? Am I wrong? Let me know.
No, you're right.
Did you say it already or I missed it?
No,
Okay.
It's the cookie. Don't mind me.
The cookie. All right, man. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share. If there's anything that you all have a question about, please write it in the comment. Let us know what you all might want us to talk about going forward, and let us know if you appreciated this conversation. So before we end, I'm going to go ahead and read this really quickly. And what I want to read is Tehillim 19, 7 through 14, it says, the Torah of Yah is perfect, bringing back the being. The witness of Yah is trustworthy, making wise the simple. The orders of Yah are straight, rejoicing the heart. The command of Yah is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yah is clean, standing forever. The right rulings of Yah are true. They are righteous altogether, more desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than the honey and the honeycomb. Also, your servant is warned by them, and guarding them there is great reward. Who discerns mistakes? Declare me innocent from those that are secret. Also, keep your servant back from presumptuous ones. Do not let them rule over me. Then shall I be perfect and innocent of great transgression. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing before you, O Yah, my rock and my redeemer. Shalom, shalom, you all. May the Most High bless and guard you. Yabrecha, Yahweh, Yeshmorecha.
Steps that we must take.